ended the day on 233 for 6. Ashwin and Saha were at the crease when the day's play ended. At 188 for 3, you would have said India was slightly ahead, but a run out at the most inopportune moment with new ball away opened the door for Australia. It's time for me to get my guests on the show. John Gloster, the former Indian physiotherapist and the current physiotherapist with Rajasthan Royals, joins me on the broadcast. I'm also joined by Akshay Lumba, who is an Indian cricket fan. John, to you first. Would you say it's even Stevens or Australia has their nose ahead after 233 for 6 that India scored?
Yeah, I think had they gone in 3 or 4 down with the same score, would have been definitely India, but those last 3 wickets really turned it in Australia's favour. So disappointing to finish the day like that after doing a lot of hard work in those first 2 sessions. Interestingly, that last session was the highest scoring session as well. Yes, they lost 3 wickets quickly there, but it was also the most runs scored for any session in that last one. So there's a bit of positivity about that last session, particularly before the new ball was taken. But you'd say that given those 3 wickets, it was slightly in Australia's favour come the end of the day. The positive thing for me was the way that Wriddhiman and Saha played out those last few overs. And I think if he takes that same attitude in tomorrow morning, they could build on that score quite significantly.
Akshay, if we talk about the turning point of the day, would you say that mix-up, that run-out of Virat Kohli?
Yeah, absolutely. I think overall it was a day that we're satisfied with, but it could have been a lot better if that run out didn't happen. Kohli was looking in amazing form. You know, him and Rahane had a really good partnership, and as the gentleman just said, we were looking really good for a big total. And it was a bit of an unforgivable mistake. It was one of the worst run outs I've ever seen. At a really important moment, and you know the sad part of it all is Rahane followed soon afterwards. So we had 2 fresh batsmen in the crease, and wickets kept tumbling. But it was a good comeback towards the end, and I think Indian fans generally will be satisfied at the state of play. But it could have been a lot better.
John, would you say that in the last 20 minutes that Ajinkya Rahane was at the crease after the fall of Virat Kohli's wicket, he looked a bit unsettled?
Yeah, he was clearly rattled after that, which is unfortunate because I thought he looked pretty good up to there. Virat looked as good as I've seen him for a while. I thought there may be some issues with him coming into this form of the game, having not played any Test cricket for such a long time, but he certainly put that to one side and was on his way to another magnificent, Kohli 100 that we're all hoping to witness, even the Australians, I would say, as well, given he's only there for 1 Test. And in fact, probably the only mistake he made all day was actually not continuing through with that run when he was called through by Rahane. So, yeah, unfortunately for him and unfortunately for India and Indian fans, that 100 didn't eventuate. But, I think Rahane, the poor fellow, took it firmly on the cheek and didn't look the same after that run out, unfortunately.
John, you have spent long enough in the dressing rooms of these teams. What does a batsman typically tell, his mate when such a thing happens? It's like it's a mix-up, and Virat Kohli could have gone on to make that 100, as you mentioned, but it wasn't to be because of that late run out, that late run call by Ajinkya Rahane. What could he be telling Rahane tonight?
Look, these things happen in all forms of the game, and it depends on what point of the game it happens at. Depending on how disappointed you're going to be. Again, missing out on 100 as well, he'll be slightly disappointed, but more about what happened after that he'll be more disappointed about. He'll have a little chat to Rahane, but these things happen, and I'm sure Virat's made mistakes running between the wickets as well. You probably had the 2 fastest guys in the middle there too, so normally they would run very well together. But that was just a poor judgment on Rahane's part, but he'll be the first person to go back into that dressing room and apologise to Virat. That's the sort of guy that Rahane is. Virat will say, no worries, mate, and we'll get on with it next time. And we'll prove to them that we can do it more efficiently and effectively when we go out together next time.
Gurkirat, thank you for joining me on the broadcast. Talking about Virat Kohli and run-outs, there has been only 2 times in his career that he has been run out, and both times in Adelaide Oval. So this has also been a ground where he has had a lot of success. Would you say that Virat then was little bit unlucky getting run out once again in Adelaide Oval?
I think It was genuinely a horrible call to start with. But having said that, even though it's not a three-figure score, but it's as good a test innings as it can be. He showed a lot of composure while facing the Pacers. When he came in during 32 for 2, he probably left the ball the best amongst all Indian batsmen today, and it's been probably one of the most assured test match innings that he's played. The way he kept playing Nathan Lyon, early on he took a charge on him, came down the track and attacked him, and with the kind of overspin and the bounce that Nathan Lyon was getting, we could see how he was troubling Pujara. Virat, on the other hand, didn't look in any sort of discomfort. So it was as good a test innings as it could be. It's a real shame that it's not turned into a big 100, which it could have. Had Rahane and Virat batted till the 80th over. With the new ball, they could have also, scored some runs. So
right,
it could have been very easily 250 for 3 instead of, 220 odd for 6.
Akshay, coming back to you, everyone's talking about Kohli's grit and determination, and it's incredible how he finds so much steel in white flannels. But as a fan, would you say that this was a different Kohli from the one that we saw in Adelaide in 2018?
Yeah, I think so. I think today, obviously, he came into a period where we lost 2 early wickets, and he had to rebuild with Pujara. So he took his time, and he was sort of like meditating at the crease. There was a lot of patience about his innings. I think he had a strike rate of about 40 odd, which is very low for Kohli standards. Batted 180 odd balls, so really, really patient innings. You could tell he knew he had to be there. The whole way through if India were to get a big score, and he did his bit to get there, and unfortunately that wicket fell, the run out fell, so he couldn't make it to his 100. But he did exactly what was required of him, and it was a testing pitch and good bowling, so he had to play sensibly. Lyon was turning the ball quite considerably, and the seamers weren't giving any width or any room, so he had to bide his time, and he played it perfectly.
John, what's been incredible about this innings is the way he has made a transition seamlessly from the 50-over format to T20. Firstly, he was playing T20 in the IPL, and then he went to Australia. He was playing the 50-over format, then again T20, and then now he's playing Test cricket and making runs in Test cricket as well. Would you say this transition, this seamless transition, is what's incredible?
Yeah, well, I think that's the mark of the great modern player. They're expected to do that so rapidly to turn around formats of the game these days. So they all train for that. They practice for that. He would have been training with a red ball, I can tell you, during the white ball series as well. That's what we tend to do these days, just to get a feel, get a look, get a see of it. So the process starts very early these days because the transition period between these formats is shorter and shorter now, particularly in the COVID setting. But it's good to see him with a smile on his face today. He smiled a lot today. The other guy who'll be having a smile on his face at some point during this game, I think, will be Ashwin, because he saw the amount of bounce that Nathan Lyon was getting, particularly, and a little bit of turn as well. So being a much taller guy and probably a bigger turner of the ball, I think Ravi Ashwin will be the guy who'll be smiling perhaps later on in the Australia innings.
John, what is a good first innings total now to expect from India?
I think they'd be happy with anything 325 to 350. I know that's asking a lot of the 2 guys at the crease at the moment, but I think if you're going to pressure during the day, you've got to make the most of that day period and then get Australia in the evening tomorrow, and then make that ball talk with a new ball. So the thing is, with the old ball, in the evening, it didn't do as much as we thought it would do, but as soon as that new ball came in, it definitely shows that there was a lot more in the wicket and a little bit more in the air as well. So you want to get the Aussies in when you've got a new, fresh pink ball in your hand in the evening session, I think, and that'll be the real test of those boys.
Akshay, the Australian seamers today were absolutely incredible, but would you say today they bowled more back of the length than short at Kohli, back of the length and short at Kohli than on good length?
Yeah, I think so. I think they bowled really, really well. And the reason they bowled more back of a length balls is because there wasn't much lateral movement. The ball wasn't swinging so much. So, you didn't want to put it in Kohli's arc for him to drive through the covers and score boundaries. The best way to restrict the scoring was to bowl it back of a length. So I think there was a good pitch all round, and the bowlers bowled to their strengths. They bowled line and length on top of off. But the Dangermen was Nathan Lyon. He was getting lateral movement. He was turning the ball. And I think we'll see a similar thing when India come out to bowl. I think there won't be much lateral movement for the seamers, but again, Ashwin's got a key role to play in making indents into the Australian batting lineup.
John, before we close out this discussion for the day, I'll have to ask you about one man we haven't spoken till now, Cheteshwar Pujara, and the way he and Kohli negotiated the second session. Would you say it's a testament to the tenacity of both these men? Pujara hasn't batted the whole year, and so we were expecting him to bat long.
But that's Pujara, isn't it? You know, he's the epitome of Test cricket and the Test cricket batsman, and what we all come to see. Some call it boring. I don't, not at all, because he was the guy that again put his hand up for long periods of time, which is exactly what India needed after those first two early wickets. The other guy at the other end will always score around him because he's so solid. He gives confidence to the guys at the other end because he makes the wicket look reasonably easy in the way that he's got time to play his shot. So, you know, we expect that from Pujara these days. And as you said, he's come off 12 months of zero cricket. That's a great effort, and I think we're going to see big things from him in the second innings, particularly if he can get in during the daytime sessions.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on the broadcast this evening.